Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 7 of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated with myself, Tom Cavanaugh. This is post-game recaps, and everybody catch your breath. I mean, what a game. It had everything. Everything. A fifth-string quarterback, fumbles on the 1-yard line. It was incredible. 57-yarder to break a school record. Unbelievable game from the UCLA Bruins. They did not flinch. They were resilient, and they came back to win in an upset over the Iowa Hawkeyes, 20-17. The Bruins are winners of 3 in a row now, taking down Rutgers, Nebraska, and now the Hawkeyes on homecoming night in Pasadena. We're going to get to everything, but my goodness, on the edge of my seat for every single minute of that one. What a ball game. Everybody played incredible. The big stat was from TJ Harden in the run game, 125 yards, beating the allegations from the Bruins being the worst rushing team in the conference. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to Fans First Sports Network for hosting us, letting us give you all the content. And you can follow myself, Tom Cavanaugh, on Twitter/X at TCav30. Head over to Twitter and Facebook. Follow our UCLA Bruins Insider on SI. It's actually UCLA Insider on SI, both on Twitter and Facebook, or X, as some will call it. But yeah, go check out all our stuff. Hit your search bar, type in UCLA Bruins on SI over the course of tonight, and then also tomorrow to read everything we got to talk about, because what a win for the UCLA Bruins. I'm going to keep saying it because I don't think anybody counted this team to get this done tonight. You were playing a Hawkeyes team that was also on a pretty good win streak. 3 of their last 4 they won. They were back-to-back, a couple of huge wins, scoring 40-plus points in each of the last 2 games. And the UCLA defense, man, come on, holding them to 17 points. They forced 3 turnovers, a couple of picks from Carson Schwessinger, something he's never done in his career. Very impressive. Also, Kane Medrano, he had himself a fumble recovery, or a forced fumble, and then recovered it himself. Another guy was Adaleo, defensive lineman for the Bruins. He had 2 sacks in the game, 3 total sacks from the Bruins defense. We're going to kind of dip into that a little bit later. But, I mean, the leading storyline has got to be the running back, TJ Harden, the junior. 20 carries, 125 yards. He looked like Caleb Johnson out there, the Hawkeyes running back that is the best in the conference, number 2 in the nation. I mean, this was a team that was coming into the game averaging under 75 yards on the ground. That's not going to win you many ball games. And they rushed for 211 tonight. Ethan Garbers chipped in with 23 himself. Jalen Berger had 30. Keegan Jones with 38. And the big name was Harden, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. And I'm going to sound like Sandra Bullock here from The Blind Side, but run the damn ball is exactly what Deshaun Foster, head coach of the Bruins, said. And he said, we're going to run it right down your throat. And boy, did they. TJ Harden, an incredible night. His best game of the year, he had 53 yards coming into tonight. That was back in week 4. And he doubled that and some, putting up 125, and really led them to victory because Ethan Garbers, I mean, he when he started the ball game, he threw 2 picks on the first 2 possessions. It did not look great for the Bruins. They trailed 10-0 after the first 2 picks. Iowa got out to a really hot start. Their backup quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, played a pretty good first half. But the Bruins brought some pressure on him as well. Sullivan would end up coming out of the ball game, and they had to put in their 5th stringer later on. So this Bruins team obviously got to Sullivan, banged him up a little bit, but it allowed Ethan Garbers, the running game from Harden, it allowed Garbers to be able to open up the offense throwing. There were so many open receivers tonight. The leading guys, Logan Loya, 5 receptions, 94 yards and a touchdown. He was all over the place. Quasi Gilmore, 32 yards on 3 receptions. Bryce Pierre, he had 25. Harden got into the pass game as well with 16. And this is all without one of their biggest guys in tight end, Moliki Matavo. He was a key player that did not play tonight, and the Bruins picked him up in the pass game. Over 400 yards of total offense compared to just 265 from Iowa. Domination from the Bruins, and they skate by 3 points. So kind of just take you quarter by quarter. It was a 10-0 start early on for Iowa in the first quarter. I mean, they jumped out hot. A couple of picks from Garbers led to that. And the Bruins didn't flinch. 17 unanswered points from the squad. Went right down the field, scored a touchdown. They came through with a field goal. Mateen Bagani, the sophomore, set a school record 57-yarder, knocked it straight through the uprights. It crawled right over the bottom of the crossbar, and that battled back for Iowa. They tied the game up at 10 apiece. And then off the fumble recovery that Kane Medrano got, touchdown Bruins. They make it 17-10 in the halftime, held that score all the way through the third quarter to get to the fourth. And this is where the one weakness or the one point of improvement for the Bruins really comes into play here. So it was a 17-10 game. The Bruins were on top late third quarter into the fourth. It was fourth down. Hawkeyes are getting ready to kick a field goal. They kick it, they make it. 17-13, right? Great. Bruins still got the lead. Not so fast. One of the linebackers or corners, defense secondary player, I should just generalize, for the Bruins, jumped over the offensive line of the Hawkeyes. That's a 15-yard penalty because the defender stepped on the back of one of the offensive linemen. 15-yard penalty. That's a first down. Iowa would go down, eventually go and score a touchdown to tie it up at 17. But UCLA did what they do best in this game alone, run the football. Harden went down several times, had a few big runs for first downs. Garbers was pinpointing Loya as well as Quasi Gilmore. He had a huge 15-plus yard catch to put them in field goal range. They were getting down to about the 5, 6, 7-yard line. Couldn't convert for the tutty, but they kicked 3, and the defense came through in a big way, held on. So for the Hawkeyes, I mean, they were kind of behind the 8 ball when Brendan Sullivan came out of the game. So Sullivan, he was the backup for Cade McNamara, who suffered a concussion a few weeks ago. Sullivan had played the last 2 games, won both, played okay, but then Jackson Stratton, not the first, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, but the 5th string quarterback comes in, leads a touchdown drive to tie that ball game up at 17. But late, I mean, when you're in crunch time, you're on the road. It's homecoming for the Bruins. He hasn't played a ton this year. And being in a ruckus environment like that, when your team's down 3 points and you need to get in a field goal range, it's tough to do when you're an inexperienced quarterback, as Stratton was. So the Bruins took advantage. They were able to turn the ball over on downs from the Hawkeyes, and a couple of first downs were huge. One thing I really want to hit on, though, this might go underappreciated from a lot of people. 3rd and 8, 2 minutes left in the ball game, just over 2 minutes left. UCLA takes a timeout. They come back out. This is where offensive coordinator, NFL, experience out the wazoo, Eric Bieniemy comes through in a big way. You'd think, okay, 3rd and 8. Maybe we run a little bit. Try to get the 8 yards. If we don't, our defense can stack up with under 2 minutes to go against a 5th-string quarterback. That's not what they did. Bieniemy called a pass play. Garbers rolls out to the right, finds his receiver on the sideline, and this is where it gets interesting. Makes the catch, hauls it in, and he had his back facing Garbers when he caught the ball. Obviously, he had to face that way to make the grab. Instead of turning around and getting upfield, that's going to take a couple extra seconds. He decides to catch the ball and backpedal for the first down. He was only about a half yard away from getting the first when he caught the ball, maybe a full yard, but he just backpedaled and he was able to crawl over, get the first, and one more first down ended the ball game from TJ Harden. So this UCLA team, man, not only on the field, but in the coaching room as well, they dialed up a great 3rd and 8 play, a really, really risky call that worked out for him but Ethan Garbers, he was sharp ever since he threw those 2 picks on the first 2 possessions of the game. He comes out, throws a dart on the sideline. They get the first down, and the Bruins hang on. They move to 4-5 on the year, 2 more wins for them, and they're bowl eligible after starting 1-5. Now, one thing that I also want to hit on here is the fact that these Bruins, they played one of the toughest Big Ten schedules, if not the very toughest in the entire Big Ten. I mean, no, this isn't a Big Ten team. They played LSU. They played Ohio State. They played Oregon. They played Penn State. They were 1-5 to start. And now for most of the Big Ten teams, you're going to lose those games. But having that experience against top talent, Iowa, I mean, if the Bruins hadn't played any other team quite like that in the top 25, this Hawkeye team would look a whole lot different. But when they were trailing 10-0, the Bruins looked around at each other and said, hey, we can beat these guys. They forced 3 turnovers. Garbers threw for 2 tutties. And TJ Harden, man, can't say enough about the job that he did on the offensive ground, putting up 125 yards. Logan Loya also major through the pass game, 94 yards on 5 catches. Just an all-around great game from the Bruins to get it done. They did have several penalties, and we'll get to that right now. I mean, when you look at it, 9 penalties for 84 yards, a couple of personal, not as many unsportsmanlike conducts that we did see from a week ago against Nebraska that led to scores, but still some boneheaded plays like stepping on an offensive lineman's back on a field goal when your team would still have the lead by 4. I mean, those things have to be eliminated because Iowa only put together 2 holding penalties for 20 yards, and that 9 for 84 on the flag side for the Bruins. I mean, that's really got to be picked up. Still staying at these team stats here, taking a look at them. Bruins were 9 of 14 on third down. They started the game 3 of 3 on third down conversions. Now that's huge. And you look at the Hawkeye side, they were only 4 of 10 from third down. And I mean, obviously they didn't get to as many third downs, but also you stop them 6 times on third. That's several punting situations because the Hawkeyes never went for it on fourth. Every time they were stopped on third, they had to punt it away, and they did that 6 times. That's going to do it for us here from the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated with myself, Tom Cavanaugh. We will have content all week for you, not only here on the Fans First Sports Network, but also on UCLA Bruins on SI. You can go follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well to get all your content. We'll be posting all of our stories throughout the week there, and there is a lot to talk about. I mean, breaking a school record as a kicker, having your best game, a season high from TJ Harden on the ground. Ethan Garbers looks great again. It's exciting stuff here for the UCLA Bruins. They have been playing some incredible football on one of the hottest streaks in the Big Ten, maybe, in the entire nation. This team has turned it around after a 1-5 start. They're 2 games away from being bowl eligible, and tip your cap to that coaching staff. Head coach Deshaun Foster in his first season gets it done, 20-17. Your player of the game is TJ Harden with 20 carries for 125 yards, showing up that Iowa Hawkeyes defense that was one of the best in the conference. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow here on the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast.